the latest of the Israel war as it continues to rage on with Hamas. This really coming with big news from President Biden that we're learning that support for this war could be waning here. So we want to go right now out to Israel. That is where we find Fox News' Nate Foy joining us here with the latest. And Nate, first off, how are you doing and how is the fighting out there right now?
Mike, good afternoon to you. We're on the northern front, so Hezbollah and Israel continuously exchange artillery fire, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But the focus, of course, remains in Gaza, specifically in Gaza City. A positive report from Defense Minister Yoav Gallant tonight. He says that they're very close to eliminating all Hamas infrastructure within Gaza City. And an interesting report from the Wall Street Journal just in the past hour or so that Israel is now pumping seawater into Hamas tunnels underneath Gaza. We're working to independently verify that. But Defense Minister Gallant says that fighting is happening below ground, on the ground, and also up in the air. Take a look at this video of these Israeli airstrikes. As just today, they've done quite a bit of damage. They've taken out 4 tunnels in Gaza City in the past week. They hit a Hamas weapons factory, a rocket launching post, and several Hamas targets in homes and near schools. The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, which doesn't differentiate between terrorist and civilian deaths, says over 18,400 Palestinians have been killed since the start of the war. And you mentioned what President Joe Biden told Democrats in Washington. He said that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu must change his government and that Israel is starting to lose support because of the rising civilian death toll. Here's Netanyahu earlier today talking about Israel's relationship with the U.S.
Nate, if you just want to keep on going there, we do not have that Netanyahu soundbite.
Okay. All right. So I'll just tell you what Netanyahu said. His quote was, "I greatly appreciate the American support for the elimination of Hamas and the return of our hostages. Yes, there are disputes about the day after Hamas, and I hope we will reach an agreement here as well." So there are a lot of concerns about what Gaza will look like once the IDF goes through Gaza. Hamas, but right now the focus is to take care of that first part, to eliminate the threat and take out Hamas terrorists. But back to President Biden, he's set to meet with American families, the families of American hostages who are still in Gaza tomorrow. And Israel announced the murders of 2 more hostages today. One of them was murdered on October 7th, and his body was taken back to Israel today. The other, a 28-year-old girl who, according to other hostages who have spoken with Israeli authorities, was murdered much more recently. Their bodies were both discovered during an IDF raid. Meanwhile, the Houthi rebels in Yemen again attacked a cargo ship in the Red Sea, this time a Norwegian tanker. It was hit by a missile. The Houthis have promised to target all ships headed to Israeli ports. Now, you asked at the very beginning of this report what's happening here on the northern front, and the answer, as I said, is constant artillery between Hezbollah and Israel. Israel is accusing Hezbollah of launching rockets from right next to a UN post for a second time in 1 week, whereas Israeli fighter jets have taken out Hamas infrastructure today, something that we've also seen on a near daily basis here on the northern front. We'll send it back to you, Mike.
Yeah, Nate, just brutal there, but could be very interesting to see how it plays out. Well, you mentioned that Wall Street Journal report there of the pumping of the seawater. That was such big talk last week, and now we'll see what the aftermath from that leads to, especially as this U.S. support could be waning there. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, for sure. And this is something that it's been done before for different reasons. Egypt has pumped seawater into tunnels from Gaza into Egypt. These are smuggling tunnels. So it's been done before. Obviously not for this reason. Something that I'd like to point out in terms of how this will look, it's not as though these tunnels will be flooded instantly and anybody in those tunnels would drown. This is a process that would take weeks. So the whole goal of it would be to bring whoever is in those tunnels, and keep in mind over 130 Israeli hostages remain in Gaza. So hopefully the idea would be that not only the Hamas terrorists, but also the hostages that they're holding would be forced above ground, where Israel Israeli soldiers would be able to at least see the threat that they're dealing with and hopefully be able to secure those hostages and eliminate the Hamas fighters.
Nate Foy, thank you so much for that live update there in Israel. We really appreciate it. Stay safe to you and your crew. Again, thank you so much for the update and continued safety as well.
You got it, man. We appreciate it.